and we're actually winning in the rule of law. And so you have, dozens and dozens of civil rights organizations and legal groups that sent a letter, stating how reaffirming the rule of law and the principle that we're going to maintain our civil rights. The National Bar Association, which I'm a part of, also released its own statement. This is, talking to this very point. So This is also something that I wanted to acknowledge that, yes, you've got to have that courage in order to stand up for what it is that this country's ideals are supposed to be about, and not enable this totalitarian, attempted authoritarian regime to curb, because that's what that's what the goal is, to try to consolidate into the executive so that none of us actually have the rights or feel empowered to be able to maintain what we call our American democracy.
And I can tell everyone that at the National Bar Association meeting that we just had, because we are acknowledging the 100th anniversary of the creation of the National Bar, that was created because the American Bar Association in 1925, the Iowa Bar Association, and almost everyone throughout the country, the local bar, city bar, and county bar associations would not allow black lawyers. In fact, the ABA had an absolute ban on the admission of black lawyers. And it is, and that ban, for those who think that was ancient history, that ban was not rescinded until 1943, and it was not operationally rescinded, meaning that they admitted their first blacks to the ABA until 1950. 1950. Folks, we got to understand that when the NBA met this weekend, they were in outrage. And literally embarrassed, ashamed, and hurt by the actions of Paul Weiss. I am so disgusted. I worked with that law firm for years. This is my personal statement, clearly. I worked with that law firm for years, brought all kind of, racial discrimination cases. I was so happy that they had these great black partners in that law firm when most don't. But for their chairman to say that he's going to roll now, and is going to not, bring these lawsuits against the Trump administration, that he's going to rescind their DEI programs. Folks, this is where former AG Loretta Lynch is, former U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Jay Johnson is. This is where Theodore Wells, one of the most prominent litigators, black litigators, period, in this country is. How is it that we are in this moment? It is absolutely disgusting to watch what's happening with that kind of cowardice. But I do want to lift up Perkins Coie, that has said, no way. They have the same threat, and they said, just sue us. Because we'll sue you, because we're going to do what we have to do in this moment. And it's so important to have that courage. I just had to, add that elucidation. Go ahead, Daryl.
No, that's a great point, Barbara. And for a lot of our listeners, Mr. Secretary, a lot of times we hear about the courts and we hear about the lawyers and we hear about federal policies, and it all sounds like it's 10,000 feet in the sky type stuff. I come from, I was a local elected official, right? This is where the rubber meets the road. And so if you're one of these parents, if you're a parent of a special needs child, if you're a parent of a child that you believe is being discriminated against, if you're a parent of a child that, is physically disabled and their actions and their services are not being rendered properly, in this moment, what do you suggest that parent do now, given what's going on?
Well, look, you've got to use every tool available to you to advocate for your child. So you got to go to the local superintendent and school board and make your complaint known. You've got to go to the state and make your complaint known. And you should still file a complaint with the Office for Civil Rights, because part of what will help us in the litigation is being able to point to their failure to fulfill their responsibility under the law. So you got to make your complaint known. You may want to go to a local organization like the NAACP or others who are in a position to help support you in raising alarm about the inequitable treatment of students. But I hope folks won't get discouraged, and I fear that's part of the agenda here is, you have all of these attacks on the civil rights achievements of the last 50 years, and I worry that their hope is that people will get tired, and we can't get tired. One of the things that I hope students take away from the celebration of Black History Month and Women's History Month is the people who went before us who faced incredible obstacles and persevered and found the drive for progress enough to keep going even in the face of periodic defeats, and that's the moment we're in. We have to keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Kit. Go ahead.
I just wanted to reiterate that everybody can do one thing, and it may seem daunting, but we're not asking everybody has different roles to play. And even as a parent, as someone who is in the community, like the Chancellor said, there are ways in which you can make a difference, even just fighting for your own child, but that means you're also fighting for everybody else. What I would also reiterate is that this is, again, where this connectivity has to be shown connect the dots between the history, the erasure of our history, and it's Black history, it's American history, it's women's history. I mean, that's why Her Dream Deferred this week is incredibly important to highlight how it is and why we have to make sure that our children and our generations know what it is in their space and how they belong. And because the goal from the other side is to undermine and take away that pride, that knowledge base. And so, I mean, one of the things, the partnerships that Her Dream Deferred has is we're working with the Brooklyn Emerging Leaders Academy in a youth summit to engage and equip young leaders, for example. And these types of activities for Her Dream Deferred this week really help to showcase and highlight what we talked about in terms of our generations, our younger generations, also not feeling that they're empowered, that they don't have a role, and that, helping them to learn and find their voice. And so I would encourage all of us to, again, go to apf.org and to learn more about Her Dream Deferred and what you can do in the calendar of events that you can be engaged in, because this is extremely important. All of this is connected about what is the attempts are to dismantle our democracy. And so I'm so appreciative of being able to have this conversation with you, Barbara and Daryl, and of course my forever Secretary King.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Tanya, for everything. And Chancellor King, as we close our show out, yesterday I spoke to a room full of young students who were from Maryland and Texas and North Carolina. And their number one concern, the first question off the bat was, what's going to happen to our Pell Grants? And they were, just extremely worried. What is your word right now? Because, at SUNY, you're having to answer this question, right?
That's right.
What's your advice to students right now as we close the show out?
Well, two things. One, make sure you fill out the free application for federal student aid. Make sure you fill out any state applications for state financial aid. Don't get discouraged or turned away by the things the administration is doing. You make sure you've done everything you can to position yourself to get access to that financial aid. And then the second thing is we've got to organize. You know, it's a pleasure to have this time with you, Barbara, and with you, Daryl, and with Tanya, people who are committed to a more just future. So we've got to organize. We need young people to reach out to their elected officials at the local, state, federal level, talk about why college affordability is so important, talk about why the Pell Grants are so critical. And we got to reach out to people on both sides of the aisle. Everybody has to understand the importance of higher education to the long-term success of the country.
Amen. Amen. Daryl, let's take it home, Daryl.
Absolutely. Folks, there comes a time when you listen and you watch and you see what's going on and you think how bad it is, how unfortunate it is. Boy, I wish somebody should do something about that. I wonder who that should be. Well, that someone is you. And there comes a time, I think, when you've got to just get off the sidewalk of watching what's happening and get into the street and make it happen. Sometimes you just have to be that wall that stops the water from flowing. Well, that's what we're talking about here on this show. We're talking about organizing so that the challenges that are being presented in our school systems to our students, to our American students, that they all have the equal opportunity to excel. We didn't get the opportunity to go into, and I know both Secretary King as well as Tanya Clay House would talk about the importance of focusing on building the greatest student body that we can. We didn't get that chance. But until next Tuesday, noon, Eastern Standard Time, we're thankful for Secretary King for being with us. We're thankful for Tanya Clay House for being with us. Go to aapf.org to find out more about the movement that's going on right now. Folks, until next Tuesday, noon, Eastern Standard Time, peace, everybody.
Peace.
The preceding program was paid for by Barbara Arnwine.
Radio 1 presents Boss Talk, connecting with CEOs in the DMV.
Hello, I am Dr. Angel Rich Jones, co-founder of 40 Acres. Last year, 40 Acres was blessed with the opportunity to play in the PGA Collegiate Championship. We were one of two of the nonprofits invited alongside the NAACP. Later in the year, we also had the opportunity to work with Beyond the Green and speak at the PGA Championship in Valhalla. So it has been astounding to be able to develop this amazing partnership with them. When we first started our work with them a few years ago, there was only one HBCU with an official pipeline with the PGA. There are now 14 HBCUs with a pipeline to the PGA, and they have created an initiative called Make Golf Your Thing that we are very proud to collaborate with them on.
This is Boss Talk, inspiration from CEOs right here in the DMV.
Vision loss is not something that you feel until it happens.
Most people lose their vision from diseases like macular degeneration and glaucoma, not at birth.
3 million Americans have glaucoma, and half don't even know it.
11 million people in the United States have macular degeneration.
So many eye disorders can be treated if caught early.
Make a plan today to get your eyes checked.
Visit brightfocus.org to